r/askreddit. If Harry Potter took place in the United States, what parts of the story would be different? Harry wouldn't even be called Harry. That's too British. Probably be like Hank Rogers. I sell magic and magic accessories. I spell you what? He would be going after something called a sorcerer's stone because nobody knows what the philosopher's stone is. Oh, wait. Hey, least we had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Brits got Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles because ninjas were too violent. They'd have a new sport they call Quidditch, but is nothing like what the rest of the world know as Quidditch. If I remember correctly from the books, the most popular wizard sport in America is called Quadpot, which has rules loosely similar to Quidditch, but involves explosions. Sounds better already. Quidditch Through the Ages. Fully canon, if I recall correctly. Why wasn't Quidditch Through the Ages made into a movie like Fantastic Beasts? I'd love to see a feel-good sports movie like Remember the Titans in the Harry Potter universe. Instead of owls they would use bald eagles. This is actually the most reasonable thing in this thread. In all fairness, eagles can fly quicker Edit. So comparing owls to eagles. Eagles. Quicker. Can take down owls in war/conflict. Would likely work during the daytime. Owls. More stealthy. Would likely work during the nighttime. Corporate sponsors everywhere, Wells Fargo equals Ravenclaw. Because numbers are smart and shit. Verizon is Slytherin and Wegmans is Gryffindor. Comcast is Slytherin. Comcast would make a good Slytherin. But I think Disney would as well. A single house is too small for Disney, they own the motherfucking school. Now Ravenclaw would be the fancy tech companies like Alphabet Incorporated, Google's parent company to the layperson, Microsoft, Amazon, etc. Slytherin would be the bankers because they're known for their cunning lol. Slytherin would be Goldman Sachs. More than likely the train station would be a Greyhound bus stop, and instead of running through a magic pillar you'd have to fight off an army of 2 a.m. crackheads to get into the custodian's closet. Came here to say that platform 9 3/4 would be at NYC Port Authority, and that somebody walking around talking to themselves would see Harry go through the wall, try it himself, and discover that he's not just a wino, he's a magical wino. Yo Harry, you're a drunk, dead ass. Given that a wizard probably dies to a shotgun, Voldemort's reign is hilariously brief. Even in the original books this always baffled me, just set up a sniper like 1,000 feet away and get someone to distract Voldemort for like 5 minutes. Shouting spells is great except it gives him the chance to block it, by the time you hear a gunshot it's already too late. Actually just every instance in the books where Muggle technology would have been way easier than magic is just silly to me. I mean, in fairness, it's just not that kind of story. There's no real reason why wizards would need to use quills instead of a ballpoint pen, but it fits the theme. Any justifications just kind of get bolted on. But I would happily read a Harry Potter that was unabashedly Americanized in translation.
I'd love for the Muggle kids to show up with ballpoint pens and spiral notebooks. My parents were buying my school supplies from the dollar store when I was a kid. No way a bunch of modern Muggle parents are gonna tolerate expensive quills and rolls of parchment. Then the wizard kids realize, hey, ballpoint pens beats the crap out of quills and a trapper keeper actually keeps my stuff in place, and that's how Muggle stuff leaks into the wizard world. Through the usefulness of office supplies. The American flag would be shown frequently. Edit, grammar. And the winner of the House Cup is Gryffindor America. Proceeds to show American flags as patriotic music plays. Someone drives around in a pickup truck. A flying pickup truck. I think there can't be just one school in the USA, so schools would be recruiting Schools would prioritize some divination to choose the best students and send letters appropriately. You don't want random wizardy people wandering about, so the school probably has to send one to everyone in their area. There wouldn't really be conflict between houses in the school, as only some schools use the house system, but more conflict between the schools. I'd expect those schools to trace their magic and traditions back to their colonists. There would be some first American schools, perhaps out in the Pacific Northwest, a French school around New Orleans, a Spanish-Mexican school around Santa Fe and the Painted Desert, a Chinese school in the San Francisco area, an English school around New York, and something around Chicago. Children from Hawaii could go to one of the mainland schools or are often offered a place at Mohotakoro. There wouldn't be enough of them to really move away from the boarding school approach, and you don't really want too much study or practice outside the protective bounds of the school. There would be a test at the end of every year, and a much longer Quidditch season, though it may or may not really look like the Quidditch we know. There's a parkour, Qigong-style high ropes obstacle ultimate frisbee game. To get there your parents could drive you, or they'd send a bus to a plane or train. Wizards tend to hold onto things longer, and the trains were probably set up with them in mind. Why pay to switch to planes when the train works just fine? Harry probably wouldn't have to go back to the Dursleys in the summer, since there'd probably be wizard summer camps of some sort. The political commentary on surrounding characters like Umbridge and Fudge would be different, since they're largely inspired by British political douchery from the 2000s and earlier, which is a bit different to US political douchery. There'd probably be some kind of cheerleading group for Quidditch. Instead of wizard chess they have enchanted beer pong cups that spew fire, pans that appear from the lid, jets of butter beer that shoot up like fountain, all to block the ball from going in. Also they'll probably have magical lockers around the hallway with charms to provide what you need, like a smaller room of requirement or something. Harry drops out of Hogwarts after his first year. Medical bills from the Sorcerer's Stone incident have used up his entire family fortune, and he now is unable to pay tuition without taking out a massive loan. He moves back in with the Dursleys and has entrepreneur listed as his occupation on LinkedIn. Hogwarts wouldn't be a boarding school. Harry wouldn't get his year-long breaks from his abusive family. He'd come to class with a distant, uninterested gaze on his face, and poorly kept robes. His teachers would notice, of course, but this is America, so they'd have 40 or more kids per class and no time or ability to take a special interest in just Harry. People would notice the sadness, they'd notice the uncleanness and wild hair, they'd notice the bruises and that Harry's glasses are constantly re-breaking. But this is America, nobody would want to say anything. The other boys might call Harry a front butt or a girly man, naturally. Girls would talk about what a creepy mess he was. The school nurse would probably become Harry's most nourishing and rewarding relationship. There will be magic detectors at the entrance of the school so kids cannot bring in dangerous magic items or muggle electronics. One of said dangerous items is their own wands, since they can be used to do any kind of lethal spell if the student chose to. So instead of spell classes with practical experience using their wands, they just use fake plastic wands to practice spells, and the professor marks them based on how they flicked and waved theirs in class as well as the spell pronunciation. Potions class has Professor Heisenberg. Some of the lab supplies have been missing each year and he keeps blaming the losers on the domestic elves that help inside the school. He supposedly has a brother-in-law that works as an Auror. There is also a rumor that an older Hufflepuff kid is selling smart enough potions on the side for when the exams roll around, which are pretty hard to do for a student, let alone a Hufflepuff. The current defense against the dark arts teacher is Mark Hamill. Besides counter spells and basic fencing lessons, he has redoubtable experience fighting the dark side. From time to time he lets out a chilling clown laugh when teaching his classes if some student makes a good joke, but it's nothing to worry about. Okay, this has been driving me crazy for 7 movies now, and I know you're going to roll your eyes, but hear me out, Harry Potter should have carried a 1911. Here's why. Think about how quickly the entire WWWIII Wizarding World War III would have ended if all of the good guys had simply armed up with good old American hot lead. Basilisk. Let's see how tough it is when you shoot it with a .470 Nitro Express. Worried about its Medusa gaze? Wear night vision goggles. The image is light amplified and retransmitted to your eyes. You aren't looking at it, you're looking at a picture of it. Imagine how epic the first movie would be if Harry had put a breaching charge on the bathroom wall, flash banged the hole, and then went in wearing NVGs and a Kevlar weave stab vest, carrying a SPAS 12. And have you noticed that only Europe seems to have a problem with death theaters? Maybe it's because Americans have spent the last 200 years shooting deer, playing GTA, Vice City, and keeping an eye out for black helicopters over their compounds. Meanwhile, Brits have been cutting their steaks with spoons. Remember, gun control means that Voldemort wins. God made wizards and God made muggles, but Samuel Colt made them equal. Now I know what you're going to say, but a wizard could just disarm someone with a gun. Yeah, well, they can also disarm someone with a wand, as they do many times throughout the books, movies. But which is faster, saying a spell or pulling a trigger? Automat Kalashnikova. Imagine Harry out in the woods, wearing his invisibility cloak, carrying a .50 BMG Barrett, turning Death Eaters into pink mist, scratching a lightning bolt into his rifle stock for each kill. I don't think Madame Pomfrey has any spells that can scrape your brains off of the trees and put you back together after something like that. Voldemort's wand may be 13.5 inches with a phoenix feather core, but Harry's would be 0.50 inches with a tungsten core. Let's see Voldy wave his at 3,000 feet per second. Better hope you have some essence of Dittany for that sucking chest wound. I can see it now, Voldemort roaring with evil laughter and boasting to Harry that he can't be killed, since he is protected by 7 Horcruxes, only to have Harry give a crooked grin, flick his cigarette butt away, and deliver what would easily be the best one-liner in the entire series. Well then I guess it's a good thing my 1911 holds 7+1. And that is why Harry Potter should have carried a 1911. Please subscribe and turn on notifications, and you will be blessed with good luck and endless garlic bread.